Hello and welcome back to another How'd He Hit That episode. This week we're talking about how to hit the driver off the deck. One of the most impressive shots in golf. You pull the driver out, long par 5 in the fairway, bomb it, the buddy's gonna be super impressed. But the question is, how'd he hit that? How do those PGA, LPGA Tour players hit these shots? First, we have to understand that this is a high risk shot. Even if you practice it a lot and you're skilled at it, it still can go wrong. We've seen that from time to time, even on the PGA Tour. But what can we do to pull off this shot? Like I mentioned, high risk, so we're gonna need perfect conditions. We're gonna need a good lie in the fairway. First off, don't try to hit this shot out of long rough or if your ball's sitting down in the fairway. Next, we need a good hole to pull the shot on. Most of the time it's gonna be a long par 5, but if we have to carry a lot of water or if there's a forced carry, this is probably not the shot to hit. This ball is not going to get very high off the ground, but it will run forever. So if you have no trouble, you're able to run this ball up into the green, firm conditions, maybe the wind's in your face, you want to keep it a little bit lower, this is a great shot to hit. Now, how do we pull it off? How do you hit that? Well, there's a few things that we need to do in our setup and our swing to make this shot possible. Number one, it couldn't be any different than hitting a ball off a tee. When we're teeing the ball up really high with the driver, we're gonna jam it in the front of our stance. We're gonna create some spine angle to allow us to hit up on the ball and launch that ball nice and high. When we're hitting this shot off the ground, it's completely opposite. We need to hit this shot more like a 3-wood swing. So we're gonna be hitting down on it just slightly. I like to take just a little bit of a divot just after the ball, or maybe even just brush the ground just after the ball. So since this club, the driver here is a lot longer, I'll choke down on it a little bit. Instead of playing this ball off the inside of my left heel like I typically would with the driver, I'm gonna move it a little bit further back in my stance. More so off my left hip, or maybe even off my left ear. So it's gonna be a little bit back further in my stance to allow me to hit down on it just a little bit more. If I do play this ball really forward in my stance, I'm gonna have the tendency to catch it on the way up and top the ball, and the ball's only gonna roll a few feet. So, like I mentioned, we're gonna choke down on it, ball a little bit further back in our stance, and instead of hitting up like a typical driver, we're gonna hit down just a little bit. I have 9 degrees of loft on my driver, so those playing with a little more loft may have an easier time getting this ball off the ground. But for me, this ball doesn't get very far off the ground. It's more so like a stinger, which is great for this condition today because the wind's in my face. Maybe not great because we have a little bit softer ground. It is raining just a little bit here. So, like I mentioned, grip down on it about a ½ inch, make the club a little bit shorter, a little easier to hit. Ball more so off to our left hip, so a little bit further back than a typical driver situation. Gonna swing and hit down on it just a little bit, catch the ball first, and then the ground second. Let's try it. Now that ball was hit really well with just about a yard or two of cut. That's another thing, it's really hard to hit a draw with the driver off the ground. Almost impossible. So it's best just to try to play that little fade. Get a little bit steeper with it, have that club exiting a little bit left, and hit that little fade. Now, what we wanna do if we wanna hit the ball higher, maybe trying to land it a little softer, you wanna carry it a little bit further. This is something I've seen Bubba do really well. Now Bubba's already, his tendency is to hit that big swooping cut, or even he can hit that big swooping draw whenever he wants. But what I've seen him do off the deck is really hit that high cut. Now hitting a high cut is a lot easier with the driver than hitting a high draw. Almost impossible to hit a high draw with the driver. So what he'll do is open his stance up big time here. So say we're aiming at that white flag. I'm gonna aim my stance about 40 yards left of that flag. I'm gonna add some loft to the driver by opening the face, aiming the driver face more so at the flag. And what we're gonna try to do is hit a nice high cutter. Same thing, we're gonna be hitting down on it just slightly, maybe a hair of a divot, maybe just brushing the ground here. See if we can hit a little higher cut. Just like that. I mean, that ball went a good 50 feet higher than my normal swing with the driver. Give it a try on the range, see if you can pull this shot off and impress the buddies next time you play. Thanks for watching this How'd He Hit That? See you next week.